Welcome to another episode of Give It a Nudge. Today we have a really interesting journey for you. We have a friend of mine, Bardia from Conicio, on, and he is going to talk to us about his journey. So when I met Bardia, he was working in the corporate world. He has now made the transition into the wonderful world of startups and scale-ups. And I think we're going to explore why he did that, how he did that, and how it's all going. So welcome, Bardia.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
Now I'm going to let you introduce your own self with your own surname because I dare not say it.
Yeah, sure, no worries. So Bardia Khalilifar.
Yep.
That's it's an old Persian name and Persian surname as well. So basically, I come from
Persia.
Yeah, sure. Born in Australia, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I come, from a corporate background, like you mentioned, focused on the technology side of things. Originally, I was back in high school doing programming and software engineering, and then worked my way into network engineering and became a solutions architect. So on the corporate side of things, I was doing that for a few years and realized that I'm more of an extrovert, people person. So what best way to mix that product knowledge with, I guess, interacting with customers? So worked into in a bit of a sales roles and partnerships and alliances, and throughout my 20-year career in the technology space, I've held numerous positions, executive positions in different regions. And then eventually, late last year, I decided to start my own advisory consulting firm called Conicio.
Conicio.
Yeah.
We're coming back to that name in a minute.
Sure.
Because there's got to be a reason. Otherwise, it's just, I don't know. No, we'll come back to it in a minute. But before we sort of get into why you did that, let's talk a little bit about your corporate career. Because we met at Cub. And I think Cub's an interesting place for someone who's in a corporate to come, because there's very few people from corporate world there. There's a few, but there's generally it's sort of 90% founders of some form. I guess when you sort of immersed yourself in that environment, having been in, and you've worked in big corporates, right? I didn't know you could code and be a solutions architect. We never had that conversation. It's not a question I generally ask, because I think you were still more on the sales executive side when we met. But was that partly responsible, do you think, immersing yourself into a world? And I know there's not a huge amount of tech founders at Cub, but there's obviously a lot of business owners. Do you think that had an influence on your sort of view of that world? Because if you're in corporate world, it's very hard to understand that world, and vice versa, right? Yeah,
definitely. So there is, I guess, a correlation between the two worlds, and it's more about understanding the customer side of things more than anything. So whether you're in the corporate side, whether you're as a founder as well, it's more about how can you sort of drive the demand in the market itself with what you have when it comes to technology or other sort of offerings in the market. So having that, I guess, notion or understanding about what customers need, what partners need, and this is obviously in the corporate side of things, really helped me influence sort of that idea of, okay, what do I want to do when it comes to becoming a founder, setting up a business, and how do I utilize those skill sets and experiences and the network as well that I've managed to gain in order to apply that in a startup world.
Cool. Yeah. Interesting. Well, let's talk about it. Elephant in the room.
Sure.
Conicio. I think I've got it down now.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Well, I was going to make it complicated for you because it's actually not the right pronunciation.
Oh, so before we go into the pronunciation, why don't you tell everyone what it actually does? What does the business do?
So Conicio, in Latin, it means to connect.
I did Latin at school, actually. I did it all the way to, I guess, what you would consider year 10 here.
Okay, perfect.
So I should have been far better at pronouncing it.
I think I threw a curveball at you there. But so Conicio is to connect and to unite in general. So whether that means connecting businesses or individuals to other businesses or to information, to knowledge, to products and services, the objective of Conicio is to bring people and things together, essentially.
Right.
So with that said, I created or founded the company last year based on the experiences that I've gained in the corporate side. So, coming from that, I guess, technology background, having that fascination about what is happening from a market intelligence perspective, how the technology is evolving, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's cloud, whether it's IoT, whatever it is, and apply those, I guess, fundamentals and principles into what I'm currently doing as well. So with that, I've sort of structured the business in doing services such as sales, go-to-market, partnership development, and then also doing advisory board as well to some businesses.
Okay.
The target market is SaaS and software companies within the small, medium enterprise space.
Okay. As in selling to them, or as in they are
selling the service to them.
Right.
So they can take on board my or the company's sales and go-to-market sort of strategies and assessment and implementations, and then be able to execute that in the market itself.
Okay. So give us an example of your first customer. Why don't we start with that?
Sure.
Since you've been around, is it 12 months, just about?
Yeah.
So 12 months in, talk me through that first customer, which I think is always the most exciting one. And you would have done the best job ever, so it's a good example.
Definitely.
Not that you wouldn't now, but you know what it's like on the first one.
Yep.
Just talk me through that so that everyone can sort of get a real life example of how you're working.
Definitely. So I was very fortunate, very lucky. When I started the business, within 2 weeks of starting the business, I managed to get my first customer.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. So I guess I owe that to building the networks and the relationships as well. And that plays a pivotal role in what you want to do and how well you do it as well. So with that, I took on board a data analytics company, actually.
Okay.
So and essentially what they needed was to help drum up more sales, drum up more sort of, revenue, and be able to build on that because they had their own certain targets that they needed to achieve. So my job was to sort of formulate a strategy based on 3 key areas. One is doing a full assessment of the environment, and then based on that assessment, I do the strategy build, and then from that strategy build, I do the implementation. Okay. So my job would be to sort of be that trusted advisor with this data analytics company to talk to them about certain initiatives that we can create, be innovative, tap into untapped markets, and build that sort of market presence and be disruptive as well.
Interesting. Is that someone I know?
Yes.
A customer? I think I might. It's in my head. I'm not going to say it because I might not want to talk about it, but I think I know who that is. Okay, cool. So you've been going 12 months.
Yep.
Is it just you now? Have you hired? Has the team grown?
It's just me at the moment, but I've got a couple of interns as well who I've met through various events, and they're really keen to sort of get into the consulting advisory game. Yep. Just to sort of understand the dynamics, and they're helping out as we're going along as well.
So I'm interested to talk about this because intern it's an interesting topic, right? We get approached by a lot of people to be interns. How are you structuring that? Because one, I believe you should pay interns. I don't know if you are paying them or not. We don't have to answer that question, but I believe they should be paid.
Yep.
But I also, it's actually, from our perspective, when you're a really small team like yourself, to take the time to teach an intern how to do something is almost as long, if not longer, in the short term, than you doing it yourself.
Yep.
Now, obviously, there's a longer term play, but they're an intern rather than an employee. So
that's right.
How are you viewing that? Are they sort of currently studying? Are they full-time? How's it working?
Yeah, so they're currently studying.
Yeah.
They're at universities in Queensland, and they're spending full time doing their studies. And in terms of the structure and the catch-ups that we have, it's generally one or 2 days a week.
Right.
And based on that, we sort of talk about, okay, what are the key areas that you need to be on the lookout for as a consultant advisor? So it's more about educating them on the key principles of when you're having a conversation with a customer, what are the key things that you need to look for? And one of the areas that I sort of talk about or relate to is really understanding the customer's challenges. So with that, your job is to equip yourself with so much information and knowledge in terms of the market and how it's shifting in a specific area, and your role would be to sort of really listen into what the customer needs, and based on that consultation, let's call it, you sort of provide your thought process and assessment as well, and then you continuously engage with the customer on how you can refine this better to make sure it's bespoke to them.
Right. Okay. And so how are they going? They're going well?
Yeah, they're going very well. They're basically sort of utilizing me as a mentor to really help them articulate what are the key areas that they need to look out for. So I'm sort of giving them some homework and assignments as to, okay, if you want to get into the consulting business, and technology is one of the key things that you want to really learn about the principles, learn about the fundamentals, it's not just about, for example, AI. You know, when you're throwing the word AI out there,
Everyone's throwing that word out
exactly, and you need to really understand AI specifically if you're talking about.
Is that even possible with the speed it's moving at?
Well, if you understand the history of it, and you also understand, okay, how it's attached to other technology verticals, then yeah, that's all sort of given. Yeah, in terms of the rapid pace that AI is going, you know, you have to keep up with it.
Yep.
So, but obviously the history is the history. You understand that, and when it comes to it with any technology, whether it's machine learning or quantum computing, for example, you just need to understand the history and the fundamentals before you can start talking about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we're going to be doing a short AI series on this show because there's so much talk about AI. Yeah. I was actually at my first hackathon on Saturday doing some filming, which was an interesting experience. There was a lot of pizza and a lot of Red Bull, but it was sponsored by Red Bull. So there was Red Bull cans everywhere.
High life.
But it was, I didn't have any Red Bull, too old for that kind of stuff. But it was super interesting to see how they all sort of, I mean, it's like a competition. I'm sure you're aware. Anyone who isn't aware of what a hackathon is, look it up. But it was super interesting to watch all these people. And they were all uni students, bar about 3. They were loving it. I mean, they've given up their weekend. They're doing it till God knows what time at night and then coming back in the morning. I think some of them were even considering sleeping there, which was probably a bit much. But they were completely immersed in it. And it's quite exciting to be at something like that in a technology where everyone believes anything's possible because of the rapid change. And so for you, how does that present a problem? Like you're there to consult. You're there to help people come up with new innovative ways to grow their business through sales strategies, right? That's sort of what that's a succinct way of saying it. How do you do that when you're competing against this incredibly rapid move technology wave that's coming through, that's disrupting everything constantly? And you might come up with a sales strategy which could be disrupted tomorrow by another AI business. How have you found working in that environment right now? Because it's a very different environment than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah, so it's a very good point. And the challenge that we have is it is rapidly changing, right? And your job is to sort of keep up with the rapid change that's happening. It's not an easy task. And you're constantly sort of sitting there reading reviews, reading articles. And I'll put it this way, like I'm subscribed to like McKinsey, Bain & Co, Gartner, IDC, all these like...
Give it a nudge.
Give it a nudge, yep. Sorry, give it a nudge.
Balance the grind?
Yeah, balance the grind. Balance the grind actually that has helped me significantly in terms of the information that people are presenting, learning from them as well.
That's interesting, good.
Yeah, in terms of what they see or foresee in the business as well. So the other element to that is having constant conversations. So one of the areas that I really focus on is roundtables. Mm-hmm. So within these roundtables, the focus is to bring on board like not just CEOs or company owners, but CIOs, CTOs, even CFOs as well.
Yeah.
And have that sort of discussion around, okay, what do you see in the business today? How do you foresee the technology changing within your environment? For example, where does bulk of your investment go? How are you looking at implementing strategies? I'll give you a scenario like, there are 60 nations globally now who have AI strategies, national AI strategies in place. Yeah. So 60 so far,
That's surprising, actually.
And in today's market, AI is contributing $4.4 trillion to the global economy. So
that's a stat.
Yeah. So that's something that you have to sort of really be aware of exactly what other businesses see, and having the roundtable discussions is very, very key to sort of helping you understand the dynamics and then be able to apply those when you're having conversations with customers as well. So that's across any technology vertical. The other element that I see as well is it's no longer the big corporate enterprises. Yes, they provide great technology. It's awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to focus on the small, medium enterprise businesses, because it's not just about the big corporates anymore. No. It's really seeing some really great innovative technology who are disruptive in the market with these smaller businesses within Australia itself as well, and obviously global. So being able to learn from them and be able to take that idea and implement it in other areas and be able to talk about it with others really helps to keep things going as things are changing as well.
Absolutely. All right, let's go back to you.
Sure.
You've made this transition. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Welcome to the real world.
Thank you.
How has it been? Because where were you working before? Your last role was at a big tech company. I forget which one.
Hewlett-Packard Enterprise.
HP, that's right. So you've gone from HP to you, right? That's a pretty big leap.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people work at HP, but I would imagine it's in the tens of thousands.
Yeah.
How have you gone from an environment where if you wanted something in that environment, you could create it yourself, or you could probably go and find someone else who's created it, or someone else who can create it, or there's a team, or there's something on your internet, or there's a lot of things there, to suddenly being on your own with nothing. What were the first? I mean, you got your first client in 2 weeks, so that would have helped. But what were the first 3 to 6 months like, and how has that changed in the next 6 to 12? So, because that first year is a big year.
It is, yeah. And you hit the nail on the head with that, because coming from a 20-year, I guess, career in a corporate world where everything's established for you and everything is sort of going at its own pace. You're comfortable, you're getting a paycheck every day and everything like that. And then eventually coming out of that into a very brand new realm, brand new world. I won't lie, I felt very vulnerable. I felt extremely scared and exposed. And I was more worried about, okay, when's my next paycheck going to come, or where am I going to get that sort of paycheck from? In simple terms, I'm human, and that's the first thing that comes to your mind. And I guess that vulnerability really helped me to sort of force myself and throw myself in the deep end as a startup, as a business owner, to really understand the key areas of owning a business. As simple as, okay, what do I have to do when it comes to tax stuff or accounting? So you're essentially a one-man band wearing multiple hats. And at the same time, you constantly have to keep up with information and data at the same time doing your own job as well. So, I try to be very frugal, set up my own business, even create my own website and do all the marketing and the content myself, have the conversations myself, no help at all whatsoever. And that really helped me to sort of embrace becoming a business owner and becoming a startup as well, and really establishing that now that I can do that easily, I can now put my focus and energy in going out externally and catering to customers. So that's sort of the first year, I guess, has really helped me to become, I guess, a new person in a new environment.
Do you think you got an incredible amount of drive? Everyone always says, "Oh, founders are so driven." Do you? I have theories on this. Do you think a lot of that drive comes from fear?
It comes from. I do have drive, but I have drive in depending on the situation or the position that you're in, the circumstances. Fear was definitely one of them at first. I think. Has
the fear gone?
No.
I was going to say, it hasn't gone for me. It's been 20 years for me doing this stuff.
I don't think the fear will ever go, to be honest.
Go, no.
Because something new is always coming up. And I guess the one thing that you learn more than anything is how to prepare yourself, right, for the next thing, for the next wave. And being calm, being composed, and really sort of understanding, okay, everything will work out, everything will be fine. So when you're fine and, you have that confidence within you, then, if a new wave comes at you, then definitely you'll be okay to deal with it, even though it's new. I guess fear is one thing, but my thought process personally is becoming a visionary as well. How do I envisage what's going to happen in 5 or 6 years' time? I like to look ahead as opposed to not just living in the moment, but 5 or 6 years, where would I like to take the company in 5 or 6 years' time?
And where is that?
Well, eventually, I'll put it this way. The goal is to become a big consulting advisory firm where we have specialists and consultants in each different technology vertical, each different industry itself, and really expanding beyond that. So let's call it the next Gartner.
Okay.
That's, if
that's a big hairy goal.
It is, yeah. But, Gartner's history and story is very similar to mine.
All companies' stories are. Everyone starts with one or two or three people.
100%. And, nothing is born just as it is. So, but you have to work hard. You have to sort of really realize that vision and really work at it. And that's probably where my fear lies more than anything as to, okay, can I prolong this and continue to grow this?
How do you feel about growing a business like Gartner in today's world? Because I think, obviously it's services business, which I know very well. Services businesses are at a point now, I think, globally, regardless of what industry they're in, where, and I don't want to use the word, but because we've already used it way too many times, but AI has the ability to really accelerate and change that, because automation has never been easy in services businesses, which is how you scale. It's very, very difficult. And I think AI presents a real opportunity to actually automate a services company more than has ever existed before. So I would assume that that's something that you, particularly being a futurist and technologist, as you just said, probably thinks about a lot.
Definitely. And if we, again, go back to the AI example, it's not so much about having that worry, okay, how it's going to replace certain things, but as a business, especially a services-based business as well, you have to understand how you can work with AI, utilize that as a way, as a sort of a valuable asset within the services environment to monetize, not only monetize, but also look at other areas that's untapped, that's never been thought about. And, like product-based businesses, as a service-based business, you always need to come up with new ways to become disruptive. Innovate, be disruptive, utilize your surroundings and your assets to really drive what can be the next wave, and be that sort of, I guess, organization at the forefront of things that, okay, if we've done it successfully, others might follow in the same footsteps as well. So, it's definitely something that you have to constantly look for. I'm, for example, seeing, again, AI as a great way to automate sales processes. How do I use that to my advantage to help my customers, right? Or how do I use AI to sort of adhere to sales challenges that organizations are having? So implement something within my organization to provide that and then replicate that in other areas.
Yep. Okay, cool. Talk to me about what you think you've learned the most in that 12 months. You look not so fearful now, much more comfortable, although you're still wearing a suit, but I guess you're consulting, so we'll let that slide. And I did wear a collar today because I knew you would be a little bit more dressed up than my normal t-shirt, so I thought I'd make a bit of an effort. But
you look good.
What's the biggest thing you've learned?
The biggest thing is, I guess it comes down to me personally. I think, like I said, everything will work out. When I first started the business, I was very, I guess, apprehensive, scared, reluctant. And one thing that I personally learned is that everything will work out. As long as you have that motivation, that drive, and the fact that maybe anxiety definitely runs within you as well, it will push you to becoming better. And your job is to become better.
Yeah.
So when you're working towards something, know for a fact that it's definitely going to work out for its own at the end of the day. That's on the personal side. I guess on the business side, one thing I've learned is that there are, coming out of the corporate side again, it's definitely opened my eyes to see a brand new world of what's happening out there. And this is this thing, when you're sort of stuck in a corporate environment, you're very limited to a certain audience, to a certain sort of take of what's happening. Because in the last 20 years, I can literally tell you everyone's names that I've met throughout the 20 years without even failing to not mention one.
Really?
Well, that's as close as it is. So, because you're dealing with them every day, whether it's a partner, whether it's a distributor,
I suppose so.
whether it's a vendor. So you're constantly meeting with these people, and it's constantly the same technology discussion, the same customer discussion. But then when you come into a world where, for example, with my business, focusing on software and SaaS businesses, especially in the small, medium enterprise, the discussions are completely unparalleled. And I'll give you an example. I went to the Sunrise, Blackbird Sunrise.
I saw you there.
Yes, absolutely. And I went to the StartMate event.
Yes.
And there were 10 companies who came on stage, and they delivered some amazing, amazing technology, amazing sort of offerings into the market, something that you don't talk about in the corporate side. So the learning curve for me in the 12 months that I've been is that really there's so much out there, more than just infrastructure, more than just cloud or IoT. And I want to be able to utilize the skill sets and the experience that I've had to apply in this area as well.
What made you make that jump? What was the reason? Why did you suddenly go, you know what, 20 years, it's time?
One thing I looked at is I saw people, and this is in no disrespect to my peers that I've worked with in the past.
Sounds like it's going to be.
But I guess it comes down to my personal side. So I don't want to sort of be 50 and 60 years old doing the same gig. You jump ship from one company to another, being another executive at another sort of corporation, another region, that type of thing. And it doesn't give you that sort of exposure as to what else is out there. And for me, I'm really fascinated by learning about new things, about new technology, about anything, any new information that comes my way. I'm always receptive to the idea of learning about it. So I thought, okay, I'm young enough right now to, after 20 years of doing this from a very young age, doing solutions architecture, now to being a corporate executive, I thought, okay, now is the time for me to really utilize that skill set and come out here, because I just don't want to burn daylight, go home, and then sort of do the same thing again every single day.
Yeah.
The idea of that is to become innovative, become disruptive, learn about new technology, learn about new businesses, what are other businesses are seeing in the market. And me, I'm all for helping out. And that's one of the reasons why I started the consulting firm as well, because it's really listening to what other businesses want and how I can help them out and influence that in the market.
Yep. Okay. Last question.
Sure.
This is your opportunity here. This is the elevator pitch. For anyone who's watching, why would they want to come and work with, wait for it, Conicio? Oh, damn it. Conicio. And you haven't told me the real pronunciation, so we'll do that as the second to last question.
Done.
But yes, so tell me, this is your pitch. So if you're out there and you are maybe sort of thinking about getting some consulting around your sales strategies, how you work, how you might automate it, how you might hit and innovate, why would they come and talk to you?
So I created Conicio because I see a huge dynamic of what businesses are doing in the market. So really helping them to take that product into the market is very key. So the three areas that I really focus on is market presence, being able to scale, and become disruptive. They're the three key things. So as someone like myself, and with the experience and the skill sets that I've got, I want to be able to help these SaaS and software businesses to come and utilize that. So that's why I came up with the sales arm, the go-to-market arm, but also the partnerships as well. And I know partnerships is very, very key with a lot of businesses. So it's about understanding, okay, who are the right partners for these businesses to take them on board. Yeah, and that's on the consulting side. On the advisory side, which is more the recurring business model that we have, it's about working with them as a fractional CSO or a fractional, salesperson or a go-to-market person to take that on board, but also the board advisory. So if one of these businesses needs our services to come on board as part, spend a few hours a day or a couple of days a month as part of that sort of model, we can go in and talk to them about, okay, what are the current challenges that we see in the market? How can you productize? How can you take that into the market? Who are the key partnerships for you strategically? But also build any strategy and do any assessment that is needed as well within that environment to help these businesses scale, and it goes back to becoming disruptive.
Okay, cool. All right, tell me about this pronunciation. Okay. Come on.
So Conicio is,
Conicio.
The English Australian pronunciation, but in Latin it's actually pronounced Conicio.
Oh, that's much easier. We should have started with Conicio.
Sure. Okay.
See how that rolled off my tongue?
Okay, Conicio. But yeah, it's again, by definition, it's to connect, to unite, and we're all about connecting organizations and people with everything.
I love that name. I think it's great. It's hard to come up with a name. It's never easy.
I know.
But that's a good one.
Thank you.
Look, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
We will definitely get you back in maybe another 12, 18 months. We're starting to get a lot of people back now. It's fascinating to see people a few years after they've been on the show.
Amazing.
And I look forward to watching your continuous growth.
Thank you so much, Steve, for having me. I really appreciate that.
No worries.
All right.
Thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you also got the pronunciation right. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week.